We are live. Let me just make sure the chat is good. Live chat. Yeah. Don't worry, I'll get the hang of this. this going live on the phone eventually. Eventually I'll get the hang of it. That'll do. All right. Giving a second for anyone to come on. I know it's the middle of the night, midnight with the Israelite. So you guys might all be in bed. We'll see. And that's okay, because you guys can come back and watch it later when you have the time. Or listen, because you don't necessarily have to watch. You could just listen. Make sure we're in the right place. I do believe. Yeah. Nothing quite like reading by candlelight. All right, a minute and 12. You know, I should have, I usually post, make a post before I go live. Excuse me. I usually make a post, a community post before I go live, just to let you guys know when I'm going live, or that I'm shortly going to go live. And I didn't do that this time. I should have done that. I'll need to do that next time. But anyway. All right, so as the title states, this is the Torah at midnight with the Israelite. And I may make this, if you guys enjoy this, I may make it, somewhat of a thing. We'll see. But I enjoy kind of going through, the Torah portions. And I know there's somebody going to be up in there. Oh, the Torah portions of this and the Torah. What portions are you following? This is the right portion, or that is the wrong portion. Blah 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 blah. I'm not getting into all that right now. That's not the point. Either way, this portion that we're going to go through right now, we're not going to do the whole thing, I'm sure. I'm just going to kind of read to you guys, with you guys, and we can discuss, bounce off. If you have any comments or questions or anything that you guys want to say, just whatever, then put it in the chat. The chat is live and moving. So yeah. All right, so we're starting in Genesis chapter 18. And I am reading in the King James Version. So if there are a bunch of King James Version haters out there, I don't know what to tell you. I am aware of the all the potential, all the literal and imagined problems with the King James Version, so you don't need to tell me. All right, let's get started here. This is Genesis chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him, talking about Abraham, in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. Now, I know you guys all know this, I'm sure, but I'm providing some commentary anyway, just because. It's Abraham immediately recognizes, the divinity of these visitors. He immediately recognizes them, their divinity, I should say, and even though the wording, everything, you got to look at the wording. For instance, just little things that I discover and come across, just little things in the wording. Like, for instance, it says, and he lifted up his eyes, verse 2, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. Okay, and you get the impression that they were standing right next to him or something, and they weren't standing right next to him, because he ran to meet them. So, Abraham's sitting in his tent door, and they were a little bit away. Just those little things in the language that I find interesting. But anyway, Abraham immediately recognized their divinity because Abraham's a big guy by this time. He's got a lot of wealth, a lot of cattle, a lot of servants, and he straightway is like, "Please don't pass me by. Terry, stay, and I'll take care of you guys." Bows down, and all that good stuff. Verse 6, and Abraham hasted into the tent unto Sarah, and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth." And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And I just want to say, because there are some people out there, and I'm just going to say, I disagree with the vegan approach that people, some people take when it comes to the scriptures. Of course, post Garden of Eden, very important, because this is the angels and pre-incarnate. Well, actually, should I say pre-incarnate? Because we had this discussion. I had this discussion just recently with my family. Would we say a pre-incarnate version of Yeshua, like 2 angels and then Yeshua before he came as Yeshua, or would we say 2 angels and Yahweh himself, the Father, just in flesh, but dimmed down, as it were, so that Abraham could look upon him? Because no man hath seen the Father and lived, but later on we'll see the wording that it says, I think it says like the Lord, the King James Version, but the wording would be like Yahweh or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh said unto him. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh said. So one of the strangers clearly is, whether that is, so the one would say a pre-incarnate Yeshua, a appearance of Yeshua before he came as Yeshua, or Yahweh the Father himself. I don't want to say bouncing between the two, but I can fully consider both aspects. I can consider that this was, Yeshua before he came as Yeshua by name, and I can also see this being a version of the Father himself, but again dimmed down, so to speak, so that Abraham can handle it. Maybe his face was, wrapped like a Bedouin because they're in the desert in the heat of the day. I don't know, and I'm not saying that it is so, that it was the Father himself, but I think it's interesting that the wording later on, and it refers to the stranger that's clearly in authority. The other 2 are under him. It refers to him as the Lord, as Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. So just something that to consider. But the over point with that, the original point that I was making. So we have the Lord himself, whether you want to say it was Yeshua or some dimmed down version of the Father, eating meat. So, the people that say it's commanded that we're still vegans post Garden of Eden, that's all I'm saying. Verse 9, and they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now, Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, see, there we go. The Lord said, and in more accurate versions, it will, the letters indicate Yod He Vav He. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And something right here, what for the people that don't believe in keeping the law, the commandments, the statutes, the judgments, what would he be talking about then? For I know him that he will command his children, the Lord talking about Abraham, and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord. What was the way of the Lord if there were no, because remember, the Sinai covenant hadn't happened yet. Sinai covenant had not happened yet, and Yeshua had not come. 10 commandments weren't around. So what then was this way of the Lord that he was talking about? And I've heard different viewpoints. My question when I come to a passage like this is always how much of the law as we know it was, I don't know if in effect is the right word, or right wording. Maybe revealed is a better word. How much of the law was revealed at this point in time? Because Abraham was keeping something. We see him making sacrifices repeatedly. We see the covenant that Yahweh made with him a few chapters back. What was the way that he was keeping? Because it was not, just love everyone and just God is going to bless you and just turn the other cheek and all that stuff. What was this way? Because there was something. Abraham was keeping something. And God said, hey, I know that Abraham will command his household after him to keep my judgments. So law was in effect. Okay. How much of the law exactly? I don't know. And a lot of people will say, the whole law was in effect. And that's kind of a discussion for another time. But there, I have my not doubts, but there's certain issues maybe that present themselves if you just blanketly say, the entire law, the entirety of the law was in full effect at this time. And I'd like to go more into that, but another time, I think. But the point being here that there was law. Verse 20, and the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. Excuse me. And Abraham drew near. So, he stood by the Lord, and he's like, came in close, and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? I love these sections where humans talk to God on their level, basically, and go about reasoning with God. I like Jonah. What was the other? Hezekiah. Just when people reason with God. Moses. It's fascinating to see. Fascinating. Greetings to one of you that popped in the live. Hopefully you can hear me. We're just reading the Torah right now. And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, I will not, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. I don't know how many people were in Sodom and Gomorrah collectively. I don't know. We can only estimate. But the fact that Abraham is the numbers are dropping, does not bode well. Because I think there were more than, 300, 500 people in Sodom and Gomorrah. And he spake unto him yet again, and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, O let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. It just keeps dropping. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Greetings, thank you for reading. I'm an Israelite, up late and found you as I sat with many questions. Well, I'm glad to have you. And if you got any comments, questions, you can. This is live and interactive. So if you got any questions, ask away. Or if you just want to provide commentary as well, comment away, and I can see. So glad to have you. Where was I? And he spake unto verse 31, and he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. 20 people, man, 20. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham. And Abraham returned unto his place. 10 people, that's a family, okay? That's not even a family reunion. That's a family. 10 people. There was more than 500 people in Sodom and Gomorrah. 10 people were down to. Listen, things are going to repeat. Things are going to repeat. But let's move on. Let's keep going. We still have some time here. Let's keep going. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Again, it seems to me that Lot immediately recognized their divinity as well, having previously been hanging around and hanging out with Abraham. I'm sure had perhaps primed him to seeing certain things in the spiritual, but he recognized their divinity at once. There's no other reason for him to just be sitting in the gate where business and such was conducted. Him being a man of some influence, not as big as Abraham, but certainly of some influence, because remember, him and Abraham's cattlemen were striving, so Lot had stuff. Lot was not just some poor beggar or something. He had stuff and influence. But for him to just immediately see these guys, these strangers, rush to them, bow, and kind of the same thing Abraham did, shows recognition. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night. And wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Side note there, Abraham said, Hey, you guys can wash your feet. Lot's like, Hey, you guys can wash your feet. Wash your feet. Wash your feet. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. So you see what happens when, and I gotta be careful here because I don't want YouTube to kick me off. Now we get into certain subjects, but you see what happens when you bring the younglings. Let's say that when you bring the younglings into your sin, you see what happens when the younglings take part. Whether that is the sin that we're about to read about, or whether that is other kind of sin, when the complete corruption and perversion that happens when you bring in the younglings. Because it says both old and young from every quarter. It's not good. Verse 5. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, What? Or no, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And of course, you know what they mean by that we may know them. This is King James. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. What is this garbage? What is this? I understand that later on in the New Testament, Lot is referenced, and this whole situation, and he's looked at as righteous. But if you, as a father of children, of daughters, let's just say daughters right now, yes, it is. The whole story is so disturbing. Yep, you're absolutely right. If you, as a father, put your daughters in such a predicament, even though he knew that he recognized the divinity in these people, even though Lot recognized that these people were divine, they were more than just regular humans. There is no excusing this, as far as I'm concerned, and the word either. The word does not condone this, and that's another thing, because people will say, "Oh, why? Well, this makes me doubt the Bible, or why would God let this happen?" God never said for Lot to do this. This was Lot just babbling and putting this out here. Okay, the word tells us that it happened and shows us the depravity of mankind. Okay, this wasn't something sanctioned by God. This was something Lot did. But if you, as a father, do this, I don't care if it's the president, I don't care if it's angels, and you offer to throw your daughters out to scum like this, something is wrong with you. And I'm saying that's a very nice way of saying that. Something is horribly wrong with you. You're sick. Okay? And the whole family is messed up, as we will see later. 1, 2, 3. Later, the daughters 8. Yeah, it makes no sense. No, it doesn't. But that's just what happens with the wickedness of man. It makes no sense. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm not going to harp on that too much, but yeah, something's wrong. And they said, the men outside, and they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand, and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut to the door. Let me see your comment. I have such questions with this when I compare it to Deuteronomy. Abraham is willing to sacrifice Isaac. Human sacrifice is forbidden in Torah. Lot offers up his daughters to be. Well, yeah, you're. I'm not quite sure of your question. If you just mean you have questions reconciling, yeah, I understand that, but we have to keep in mind this is not sanctioned by Yahweh. This is man doing this. When Yahweh said, "Hey, offer up your son," that was that's clear that was a test for Abraham, and Yahweh intervened and stopped Abraham from doing that. But this, Yahweh never said to do this. This was Lot just, I gotta keep, all the strangers have to be protected. Oh, here, have my daughters. Okay, Yahweh was not in that. And this was not Yahweh. This is just the word telling you what Lot did. It's wrong. Okay, it's wrong. There's no sugarcoating it. And this, I will never say anything other than the fact that it's wrong. It's against Torah. It's against Torah. I'll say that one more time. It is against Torah. Utterly wrong. Okay, verse 10. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut to the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. You see these people so disgusting. Listen, if I'm doing something wrong, especially if I'm doing something wrong, and some guy reaches his hand out, or whatever, I'm suddenly slapped with blindness. I'm done. I'm dropping the pickaxe. I'm dropping the torch. I'm dropping the crowbar, and I'm going home. If I can find home, I'm done. But the depravity of these people, that they're still trying to get in, they're blind, and still trying to find the door. Unbelievable. But again, there are people like that even now that would be in a crunch, in a terrible predicament, and still be trying to get to you, still be trying to commit the wicked act, whatever that act may be. Agreed, I stick to Deuteronomy. If something doesn't agree, I toss it out. Yeah, if anything, we have to separate the things that Torah commands, and then the things that man just do. So, just because man does something, or says, "Oh God, I'll do this," but it's against Torah, that has no reflection on God, Yahweh himself. That is man doing something of his own volition. Okay. There's other situations that don't seem to line up or reconcile, like the Levite and his concubine, that whole awful situation in Judges. Okay. That is man being wicked. Man, not Yahweh. I tell this to other people, a lot of people. Well, not so much, so not a lot of people, but people say this. I hear this repeated, that, oh, why would God let that happen? Free will. This doesn't seem to line up with Scripture. Why, isn't this against Torah? Yes, it's against Torah. These people are just as free-willed and spastic and sporadic half the time as you and I are, or anyone else walking down the road today. They just do things, or think, this is a good idea. Blah. It's not. Doesn't mean it's with Torah. Anyway, sorry, went off there for a minute. And the men said unto Lot, the two angels, hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And if I said this the other day when my family and I were having this, reading this, if we don't think that that lands, cities, countries, nations are not crying out to the Heavenly Father in this day and age, right now, we make a sad mistake. These lands, the lands that we are in, other lands that we hear about, they full of wickedness, they are crying out to Yahweh right now. They are. If we don't think so, we make a sad mistake. Verse 14, and Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And I'm just going to say, people aren't going to want to hear this. This is uncomfortable. But when crunch time comes and Yahweh leads us out of this land, because we're not staying scattered. He's going to lead us into our land. He's going to give us back the land that he promised. When crunch time comes and it's time to go, there will be people like this. There will be people that you know. There will be people that the people you know. There'll be family. There'll be friends. There'll be. This is going to be repeated, except on a much larger scale, and it's not pleasant to hear, but if we have to brace for it now, because this is going to be repeated. We are going to say, hey, Yahweh's moving. He's given the call. It's time to go. And there's going to be friends, family, whatever, coworkers that are going to say that are going to be, oh, you guys are crazy. It seems like we're mocking. It is what it is. Brace now. And verse 15, and when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. Specific instructions. He's saving them, right? He's saving them, he's pulling them out, but they still have to follow specific instructions. If you do not follow these instructions, then it doesn't matter. You're going to be consumed as well. That's also important for us as Israelites and grafted in who are going to get out to remember. Yes, he's going to save. He's going to bring us out, but we have to follow whatever instructions he's laid out at that time. We got to keep him and follow him. If he says don't look back, don't be looking back. And Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zor. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zor. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And I just want to say, because I'm sure you guys know this, but okay, it wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah that the Lord destroyed. There were a cluster of cities of the plain. Okay, the cities up there in the plains, and he wiped them all out. It wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah that were wicked cities. It's just that Sodom and Gomorrah were the most prominent. I mean, he was going to wipe out Zor too, until Lot was like, well, let me go there. But multiple cities. Again, with Lot's wife, don't look back. If he says don't look back, if he says go, he's saving you. But if you disobey the instructions that he's given you for the saving, and verse 27, and Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. And I can imagine at the time, Abraham getting up and after his conversation with the Lord, he gets up the next day to look, and he sees the smoke, and his heart just sinking. Oh no, Lot, oh no. And Lot went up out of Zor and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zor. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. So he ran out of there anyways. And the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And this is what you were referencing, 1, 2, 3, ABC. This is what you were referencing. Gross. Gross. My question is, did they really think that the whole world was destroyed, that there were no men anywhere? Did they really think that? Because they would have known that Abraham was still around somewhere, Abraham and his camp, right? Because they were still exchanging words somehow, or at least Lot was hearing about it somehow, or not Lot, but Abraham was hearing about Lot somehow, and such. I won't interrupt your wonderful reading again, enjoying it. What if we are already here, North and South America, match the descriptions of North and South Israel? Maybe we stay another sleep. I don't know. I don't know about that. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Don't know about that. You might check my Black Israel Part 1 and Black Israel Part 2 videos on my channel. That might provide some clarity to that question. I don't think the Promised Land is North and South America. I think that's part of the lands of our enemies where we were scattered, because that's part of the scattering. But excuse me, yeah. But anyway, as I was saying, Lot's daughters. This is abominable. But we see how Lot treated his daughters when the men were there. The first thought that was on his mind. Okay, I have 2 daughters here. Throw them out there. This baby, do unto them as seems good to you. Clearly, they didn't have a very good role model in Lot. Nevertheless, did they think there were no men on the earth? Really? Did they think that the only cities that existed were the cities of the plain? Really? Somehow I don't think so. And even if they did, it's still not a good enough excuse. Even if they did. And not only do we have, I don't want to hit YouTube's filters here. Not only do we have, not only do they force themselves upon Lot, but they drug him. They get him drunk. He passes out. Absolutely couldn't consent. And they both just had their way with him. Literally, that was it. They had their way with him. They wanted something. They were like, hey, he can provide this thing. We're taking this thing. But will I go into that? I won't go too into that. I can't. Not right now. Not right now. But guys, this is suck. And the firstborn, verse 37, and the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. And of course, as you guys all know, these 2 peoples come up into Israel's history reoccurringly. The whole, they even conquered some of the Ammonite territory coming into the land. There you have the whole thing with Jephthah as well later on in Judges, and Ruth was a Moabite. So these 2 people are related to the children of Israel. Or not these 2 peoples, I'm sorry, plural, are related to Israelites. They're Hebrew as well. So, and that's a whole nother thing, but yeah. All right, how long have we been on? 30. We'll go just a little bit longer, just a few more minutes, and yeah. Oh, and thank you for the kind words, 123. Appreciate it. Oh, and if you could like the live while you're in, that would help because I'm being shadow banned by YouTube. So if you could drop a like on this live, that would be helpful. Appreciate it. We'll almost call it good for the night. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar, Philistine territory. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Excuse me. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, hold on. Oh, excuse me. Behold, thou art but a dead man. For the woman which thou hast taken, she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself, said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. Excuse me. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Can you imagine? You get a dream, and the creator of the universe tells you, you are going to die. I'm going to kill you. That's essentially exactly what he said. Abimelech, I am going to kill you. It's interesting that Abimelech, who was, a Philistine, recognized the what am I trying to say? Recognize the absolute power of Yahweh speaking to him in his dream. He didn't. Oh no, it wasn't Molech. It wasn't Shemash, because remember he's worshiping false gods. But Yahweh comes into his dream and he's like, I'm going to kill you. And immediately Abimelech recognizes that, hey, this is beyond the gods I'm used to. This is the God. Now he doesn't make an admission of faith like Nebuchadnezzar, but he recognizes. Okay, there's a recognition of that he's dealing with something more, someone more than the gods of wood and stone that he's used to. And also, though, I also want to point out as well that the mercy, we think, sometimes we get wrapped up into thinking that, oh well, Yahweh only shows mercy to his people and those who are walking with him, and that's absolutely not so. Absolutely not so. Abimelech took Abraham's wife, didn't know that she was his wife, okay, but he took her nonetheless. And God said, hey, I'm going to kill you. But he gave him the choice. He gave him a chance. I mean, he said, hey, this is absolutely wrong. If you do not rectify it, I'm going to kill you. But here's your chance to rectify it, and here's what needs to be done. So, mercy, grace, always. It's always there. It's always been there. It's always been there. Anyway, I think we'll stop here. This isn't the end of the whole portion, but I think we'll go ahead and end there. Please share this live. I'll make it public on the channel when I'm done, so that people can, rewatch it. Please drop a like. It helps boost me in the algorithm. I am being shadow banned, and I appreciate you guys checking in on the live. Perhaps I'll make this somewhat a regular thing. Torah by midnight. We'll see. This has been the Israelite in America. I appreciate all of you. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.